Today on the Nerdy Gritty, politics and gaming. Can they mix?
One more world disappears inside it. Just another hopeless addict. Well, that makes a man instead. If the drums don't get you, the guitars will.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I am your gaming senator, Fox.
I am President Gaming Dez, and
President Gaming. Your name is Gaming Dez?
well, I'm Gaming President Dez. I got
there
those
it
mixed
is.
up though. Yeah, that's
Sure.
what it was.
Classic politician. Am I right?
blunder. But I do want to let you
Sleepy
guys
Dez.
know that I vow to end crunch and force
okay.
crunch and
Okay.
to require there to be.
There will be. I vow under my
No more
under my
Maddens.
gaming presidency, it will be oops all berries, no more crunch.
Get the cap'n out
Get
of
the
here.
cap'n out of here. Oops, all berries. Well, speaking of details of pop culture, there's a huge amount of anticipation for the Snyder
cuts
of the Justice League that will be coming out at some point.
Hey, I'm so excited for all the wrong reasons. I'm so excited for this to be.
I'm excited for it to
ridiculous.
fail. It's a heavy Schadenfreude over here, but also, hey, I will willingly eat my words if it's a good movie.
Heck yes! If
Absolutely.
it's really
Or a
good,
good series of movies or
yeah,
whatever
good
it is.
series.
Sure,
yeah.
5 episodes or whatever. Anyway, so we've been learning very slowly over the time that this has been announced what's going to be added to this movie, at least characters and stuff that will have an appearance at the very least. I've got a list of those right here. What we're going to do today is just decide what we want to see, who we want to see in the Justice League, the Snyder Cut. But in order to make sure we don't double dip here.
Of course.
Apparently, Jared Leto's The Joker will be in there.
I saw that.
It's gonna
That's
be.
so
It's a
weird.
terrible choice.
Why?
It's a
like,
terrible
of
choice.
all the things you're like, hey, let's bring that one back.
Let's get
that one
Joker.
again. Yeah.
Get any of the other Jokers that you can. Get Jack Nicholson back in here. How cool would that be?
Get Cesar Romero in here.
Yeah, he's alive for sure. Darkseid obviously is going to show up. He's shown up like a very brief. You could see him in one of the trailers, just kind of a silhouette.
Yeah.
So Darkseid will be there. Desaad, who looks like.
No, Desaad is Darkseid's right-hand man.
Yeah, he looks very much like Thanos' like right-hand man, the one that wears the hood. He looks the same.
That dude, I don't know who that dude is, but when I saw him, I'm like, that's a ripoff of Desaad.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. But Desaad is known in DC Universe as he's a sadist, like a ridiculous sadist, and that comes into play a
fun.
lot. And he's kind of creepy. Like
there's Noidus Vulko. He's from
Vulko,
Aquaman.
yeah.
He's in Aquaman. It's Willem Dafoe's character.
Yeah.
That guy. Man, Willem Dafoe being in Aquaman and being in the lighthouse in like the span of a year is the funniest thing in the world to me.
Willem Dafoe has been in a lot of weird things.
Sure. He can. Yeah, he's in a lot. The Atom will show up.
Really?
Yeah, apparently
Ryan Choi or,
Ryan Choi.
All right.
Ryan Choi, not Ray Palmer. Yeah. Eleanor Stone, who I'd assume is related to
Victor Stone.
Yeah.
Which would be
the cyborg.
Yeah.
His mom, maybe? Is that who it is?
I guess. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know. Iris West from The
yeah.
Flash will show up. I think it's the character playing The Flash. No. I can't tell.
He's got an article
Whatever,
in front of
doesn't
him, and he's
Oh, this was the one that was ridiculous to me, is that the general guy from Man of Steel apparently has always supposed to have been Martian Manhunter.
Yes.
And will be Martian Manhunter in this. That's such a like classic element of that's what I totally meant to do. It was the studio. Nah, it didn't. It made no sense.
No, because the Man of Steel was supposed to be a trilogy. It was supposed to be like 3 movies, and that was the original plan for his
and
character.
it just had that little unfortunate thing that it was terrible. So that's the list that I've got here in front of me. There's a lot of rumors about a million different characters.
Of course,
there's rumors of like Green Lantern showing
Ryan
up
Reynolds,
because
Green Lantern, even
they did show. Oh, that would be so terrible.
It'd be ridiculous.
It'd be so ridiculous.
There have been rumors of it. For the most part, Ryan Reynolds has been like No.
Yeah, why would he?
No.
Did you see the end of Deadpool 2? He literally shot himself after reading. Anyway, so what we're gonna do? Who do you are? We don't have to hold ourselves to DC here. They've already shown that in that time travel is a thing.
Right.
In Batman, was it Batman v Super? No, it was Flash, or it was Justice League, the
yeah.
original. I get those mixed up with what happens in each one. Anyway, we've already seen that apparently the Flash will be using the time warp,
time travel.
He'll do the time
It's
warp
time
again.
It's called time. Why is that difficult for you?
No, that's what I'm saying is that they're gonna bring in characters from
Rocky
Horror Picture Show. And they're all gonna show up and do the
Frankenfurter.
time warp again. That's my first theory.
Let's do the time.
Yeah, Tim Curry will show up.
Yeah.
All right, but you are a DC fan.
Yes.
Let's stick. Who do you think from the DC universe should show up in the new Justice League?
Should Burt Ward.
Current
Burt Ward. Just old man.
Old man Batman.
And he's Robin. He was
Oh,
Robin
right,
in the
right,
original.
right.
And
Adam West was Batman.
and Burt Ward, yes. And he had a short cameo in the Crisis on...
Oh, did he?
Yeah, Crisis.
As Robin?
No. He was just walking around and he
He's
had
just there.
a red vest with yellow trim.
Okay.
And a crazy, the sky turned red, and he said, "Holy red skies of doom, Batman!" Oh no, he just said, "Holy red skies of doom,"
Yeah,
and that was
okay.
it.
All right,
and it was wonderful.
Sure,
but I want him to be a full character,
an
in
actual
this.
old
and
man Robin,
but in Robin tights, like like him to show kind of like the superhero in SpongeBob.
Yeah,
whoever that is.
yeah.
100% like that.
Well, Barnacle Boy. It's Barnacle Boy's the sidekick, and the
whichever one is an old man.
They're both old men.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
But exactly like that. That's what I want.
That's
Burt
a good
Ward.
one.
That's my first one. Yeah.
That's a good one. There's lots of joke tweets that I've seen. It's like, proud to announce that Godzilla will make an appearance. I've been watching Godzilla King of the Monsters. I'm like halfway through it, and that would be cool. Let's see that guy. I want to see Superman punch Godzilla.
No, okay. George Clooney Batman.
George Clooney Batman.
Specifically with the nipple suits. Like, I want him to show up and Ben Affleck just to beat him relentlessly.
Wait, hold on, guys.
I've come from a different universe.
Go back to it.
Don't worry, I have my Bat credit card. And then Ben Affleck Batman just murders
Yeah,
him.
well, no, and then all of the Justice League just say, "Yeah, let's hold on, Darkseid."
Everybody wait.
Darkseid joins in. Like, I don't know this guy, but I got a feeling. Let's just beat him up real quick.
Yeah, yep. That's terrible. Let's move on to news.
All right, fine. Well, I don't know if you've seen this, but Nintendo has nerfed Steve's meat in Minecraft.
Ow, my meat.
Did you see this about the fact that
Yes, I did.
Minecraft
Yes,
Steve's
I
original
did.
his victory screen was him holding meat
Yes,
at
like
a
piece of beef or whatever.
particular angle. Yeah, whatever, cooked meat from Minecraft. For some reason, he's holding meat, like just on his victory screen at a particular
Well,
angle.
he eats it. Like his victory screen.
is he eating
eats
it?
And then he doesn't go away though.
Oh.
Like he's chewing on it, and then he puts his hand down.
Yeah, and it looks. We'll just say it looks
like his meat. That's
yeah,
for
it
sure.
looks like he's holding his meat.
And
it
looks
was
like he's holding his meat.
It was memed.
Heavy wink.
It was memed heavily, of course, and Nintendo has officially taken it out of the game. And it feels like somebody just made a joke, and then they like got it past Nintendo, and then they said, fine, we gotta take it out now." Like, it's just a weird choice. Like, why is he eating meat at his victory?
I wonder, did nobody catch that?
Yeah, I mean, that can happen. I just wonder why that was what they chose for the victory screen in the first place.
Well, it's
why
Minecraft.
is he
What else
eating
does he
meat?
do?
Like, he could just like jump up and down, or like, why does that's the one thing, or like that they're choosing for him.
I guess
to be
that's
doing.
true. Of all the things that he could do, that is kind of a random one. You guys did not hear, Cyberpunk 2077 was delayed again recently. What I did not know was literally the day before, an official tweet said to confirm there will be no more delays.
Mm-hmm.
And then literally the day after, there was the announcement of delays. So I've got an article here from Game Informer on why this happened. Here's a quote. When the news broke, I spoke with several CD Projekt Red developers who confirmed they didn't know about the delay until they received an internal email shortly before the announcement went live. So this means that whatever higher up said, we need to delay this game, email everybody, let's do it right now. I want to know what had to happen for them to have informed their employees, or at least come to a point where their employees are confident enough to tweet out. 100%.
They even
confirmed.
tweeted that the game went gold like a week before, or a couple weeks before.
What happened that they needed to delay it?
It's such like, man, I'm really hoping. So, No Clip, YouTube documentary, video game documentary channel, made a really great series of documentaries about Witcher 3. And they seem to have a pretty good relationship. It's Danny O'Dwyer has a pretty good relationship with CD Projekt Red. I'm really hoping that he's there, like working on something as they're making, and I'm really hoping we get to see kind of behind the scenes of what's going on toward the end, because we talked about this a little bit after this announcement came out a couple days ago, that we were both like, you can't really be angry that the game's gonna take, like, you can be like, oh dang, I gotta wait longer, like, but also maybe it'll be better now, great, whatever. Well, really, it just kind of has been demonstrating, we've kind of lost a little respect for CD Projekt Red and how they've been handling this. Because
they were always, like, super cool about stuff like this.
Sure.
And they've always been, respected by gamers and whatnot. Right. But for them to, when Fox and I were talking about this before, what I said was, sure, you got to move your game back once and reset the date. Sure. You got to do that twice. All right. What is this, the fourth time?
This is, I think, at least the third or fourth.
That's insane to me.
It's a lot, yeah.
When the third time came around, when they had to delay it for the second time or third time, whatever it is, they should not have set a date.
So let's move on to our
final
reviews.
No, you don't have a final news article?
I already talked about my
All right,
two.
you did both. Yes,
yeah,
okay. Things we're doing this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot this week.
I'm going to go first, though.
Oh, dang it. Okay.
You watched the X-Men Apocalypse movie a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And then we said that neither of us had watched Dark Phoenix. But have you watched it?
No, did you?
Oh yeah, because we both win halvesies on HBO Max.
Is it on HBO Max?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I gotta go watch it.
There's well, maybe you don't.
Nope,
want to
I want to watch it.
Okay,
so bad.
There's a smorgasbord of movies on there for me to watch, for us to watch. I'm super pumped about it. But I watched X-Men Dark Phoenix, and I'll tell you, the first half hour, pretty good.
Okay,
it's a 2-hour movie though.
I watched Shazam.
I have that
HBO.
on my list. I'm going to watch that soon.
And so, then I won't spoil anything.
Yeah, please don't.
But here's what I will say.
Although I pretty much know what happens in it.
Right. So what I will say is, it's not a great beginning. In fact, the first 10 to 15 minutes, I was like, this is stupid. Like, what?
Okay.
The whole magic thing, and, they try, it becomes very fantasy, like the 7 wizards and I am the last one.
Goofy premise, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And then it becomes a freaking delightful movie about family.
Oh.
The whole, like, I'm a super guy that has to punch the bad guy. It's an important part of it. It is, because he has to learn what heroism means.
Yeah.
And part of that is also learning to accept the family. But the best part of this genuinely good movie, I enjoyed this movie. The best part was the storyline about Billy Batson learning about family and learning to accept family, or his expectations of family. Again, I'm trying not to get too spoilery here.
Sure.
So his expectations of family, and comparatively, Savannah also had family issues. And so
that's the evil one.
That's the bad guy. Mark Strong.
What's his name? Mark Strong.
So bad guy and good guy both have family trauma. And the real underlying story of it is how they deal with family trauma, and how that plays out for each of them, and really how important support is in this.
Yeah.
Having people that are there supporting you compared to people that did not. And it was really good, man.
All right. I watched Day of the Dead.
Ooh.
The George Romero,
Yeah.
the third in the trilogy, the original of the Dead trilogy. He made more that are mostly terrible after this. But Day of the Dead is kind of... So there's kind of a progression, obviously, through these three movies. You have Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead. Night of the Living Dead is the very beginning where you first start seeing these zombies start appear. It's really the beginning of the modern idea
genre,
of the shambling undead. And then you have Dawn of the Dead, which is they're in the mall and surviving, and it's just about consumerism and about just kind of like really interesting, really great movie. Day of the Dead is kind of terrifying.
Oh, okay.
It's not like a viscerally scary movie. It's not those. None of those really are. Like Night of the Living Dead might have been when it came out, but today's standards, it's not. Anyway, Day of the Dead is about a group of soldiers and a few scientists in a bunker, basically just surviving, and also the scientists are trying to figure out what happened.
Right.
And the plot of the movie is just spoilers, I guess, but just kind of them devolving into madness because there's like 8 people left here and they don't know if anybody else is alive in the world. And
kind of like 13 Cloverfield Lane.
A little bit. Yeah. Isolation and claustrophobia, just again, it's like most good zombie movies and zombie stories. It's not really about the zombies. They kind of are just a method, like a vehicle to kind of tell a human story.
Right.
And this one's really about just the kind of crossroads of science and military action and how people react to each other and how people like live with each other in such an extreme circumstance.
I watched The Witches, the remake of the 1990 Angelica, based on the book, but there was the 1990 Angelica Houston, The Witches, and I loved that movie as a kid.
Oh, yeah?
It was so good. So I was pretty excited because number one, Anne Hathaway is a great actress.
Yeah.
You know, she does a good job. So is Octavia Spencer, I think is her name. Another fantastic actress. And honestly, this movie was pretty disappointing.
Really?
Yeah, altogether pretty disappointing. They spent a lot of time in the first chunk of the movie setting up the character of the two main characters, the boy and the grandma. They don't really have names in this version.
Okay.
If you look in the credits, they're like narrator boy and grandma and things like that.
Boy.
So that's kind of what he's called through, or child, what he's called through the whole thing. But so
in the next one we'll find out his name. He wanted to be called Loki, but
exactly.
Ooh, God of War spoilers
for God of War. Yeah, dang. But it's been a lot of time setting up them as characters and kind of their history and where they were going. And because of that, the entire rest of the movie felt really rushed.
The last one I watched this week, last thing I have is, I've seen it before, but I watched Aliens, the sequel to Alien. And that movie is one of the best movies ever.
It's so good.
It's such a good marriage of good hard sci-fi.
Yes.
And quality, like classic 80s beefcake action where it's just like this military squad gearing up and gonna go, and then they all almost all immediately die because they don't know what they're coming up. Anyway, it's so great. What I appreciate about this time, I thought, like, I've seen it before, so I wasn't just like, you know, viscerally like taking it all in. I was kind of thinking about it a little more this time, and it's like you talked about how Mark Strong, or what's his name, character, and
Savannah, they
had the same kind of idea of family and just how you react. I was thinking about it. In this one, you have Ellen Ripley. They find the little girl on the planet LV-426, where they go and investigate what happened, and they find the little girl named Newt, who becomes basically a surrogate, like, you know, mother-daughter kind of situation. And then, like, as I'm watching it, I'm realizing that the end of the movie, like, she is protecting Newt by fighting the alien queen. The alien queen is fighting Ripley to protect her children, the alien. And I was like, oh, that's fun. Like, it really doesn't matter because they're still just mindless monsters. Not mindless, but just monsters that don't actually, you don't care about them like you might a villain in a more a humanish villain. Like, this is just a monster you don't care about. But they still have that little like, Oh, okay. There's a kind of a connection there.
Watch
Burn.
Halloween Town 2. The
Okay,
sequel to
great.
Halloween Town.
I'm sure that's great.
Better than the original.
Wow.
Not saying a lot. Also watched Killing Joke movie.
Oh,
that
the
came out a while
animated,
back.
yeah.
Yeah, and it was pretty good. The story, it's the same story, obviously,
Sure.
so you can't tell it differently.
The classic Alan Moore.
They did something a little bit different where Batman and Batgirl were sleeping together, and that was weird because in the comics, they never established this in the movie, but in the comics, she's supposed to be like 16 at the time. Maybe 18, But
Yeah, and you're where it's not Alfred, but Gordon's daughter. It's Barbara Gordon, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So she's a teenager for sure, and it's a little bit weird. So
in fact, that's surprising. It's not in the Alan Moore story. Ooh, because that guy's a weirdo and creepy.
So, but what's weird whenever you read, because I've read the graphic novel, seen the movie, read the book, the setup for all of it is different in every single one.
Really?
And they all take a different approach on just kind of how to set up the relationship between Batman and Batgirl, as well as how to set up the character of Batgirl.
Huh.
And this one took it in a way of there was a criminal who just kind of became obsessed with her, and how protective Batman got of her.
Interesting.
And, yeah, it was really weird, really different. So there was that. I watched Psych the movie too. I loved it.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Oh my gosh, I loved it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's
so
better
hard.
than the first Psych movie.
Yes, much better than the first Psych movie. It was wonderful. But the one I want to talk about the most is I watched Godzilla King of the Monsters.
I am literally halfway through that movie right now.
And here's what I will say. I don't give a crap about the story in that movie.
No, those human characters get out of my movie. Let me
Monster
see
fighting movie.
Godzilla just shoot lasers at people.
It is not a great movie, and I want to watch the monsters fight over and over again. If somebody can put out the monster fighting edits of Godzilla King of the Monsters, I would watch the crap out of that.
You can leave Millie Bobby Brown. She's fine. She's not a huge character in it anyway.
She's fine. Okay, that's it for me.
Yeah, let's move on to the old nerdy gritty.
Hey guys, before we do that, we just want to let you know that if you're hearing this, that means that you're listening to an edited version of the Nerdy Gritty. Just this first half. Everything before this has been edited down to make it a little more palatable if you're just looking for a casual podcast to listen to. If you dug our conversation though, and you want to hear more of it, you can head over to patreon.com/DesandFox, and for our second tier or above on Patreon, you get what's the word? Access. That's what I'm looking for.
There you go.
Access. You get access to what we call the director's cut of the Nerdy Gritty, which will have, sometimes up to half an hour, 45 minutes of more content, usually 20 to 30 minutes of extra content of us just talking about things we've been up to, movies we've been watching. If we've talked about something in previous podcasts, we'll give updates for them sometimes, like, hey, I'm still watching this, or I finished watching that, or whatever else. All that gets cut. If you want to hear that stuff, we'd love for you to head over to our Patreon and support us in any way that you can. There's also a lot of Patreon exclusive content there that you can check out. A lot of gaming stuff, and of course, all of our podcasts are up there and whatnot. So a lot of good stuff. If that's not something you can do, though, we totally understand that. We just want to let you know that we don't pay to advertise this podcast. So if you could just tell your friends you're listening, that you enjoyed it, let them know to listen in. Maybe you thought what we said was super dumb and controversial. Tell your friends how dumb it was and that they should listen to it.
Listen to it and then dunk on us.
Yeah, dunk on us
social
all you
media.
want. And then continue to dunk on us, and all of your friends can listen and dunk on us.
Yeah,
that's fine.
and then pay $5 a month so you can dunk on us.
Continue to dunk on us
on the director's cut too, because we're even dumber there.
So, no matter what, thank you guys for listening. We appreciate your support in whatever way you can give it. With all that being said, let's really get down to the nerdy gritty.
So in the last couple months, we've seen actually a lot of. It makes sense. It's a political season. It's upcoming presidential election, but we have seen a lot of instances where politics and video games have kind of come into come to a crossroads. And what we want to talk about today is, well, should politics and video games mix? And if so, can they in a way that is effective? And how can that happen so first I want to talk about a few things that we've talked about a little bit already, and plus a few other things that we haven't talked about that kind of illustrate what's been going on. The biggest one is, of course, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She streamed Among Us for a little while, and it was hugely successful.
Right.
And by most people's standards, a pretty good stream for a politician. Like,
yeah.
Wasn't just trying to shove something down your throat, genuinely having fun.
Better than most of the America's Army streams or whatever.
Yes,
yeah.
that was the other huge story about politics on Twitch, is that the military has been using Twitch as a way to recruit people for the to sign up for the military.
And it's going very poorly.
And it was the opposite of success. It was failure, because they did not know how to respond to people's trolling questions. And when they did responded very poorly, and were just made fun of on the internet mercilessly.
Yeah.
There have been other things, of course, like Joe Biden has an official Animal Crossing island, not made by him, of course, but made by his campaign, where you can go, and it's a fun little thing to check out. And there's instructions there on how to vote and stuff like that, and of course pro Biden stuff.
Yeah.
Then there was also this big. I don't know if you saw this. This is another news story that I was thinking about bringing up, but it made sense for this. There was a hack. Let's see. Among Us suffers an attack by apparent pro-Trump hacker 3 days after AOC's hit Twitch rally.
I wonder what makes it pro-Trump.
Well, because it basically hacked Among Us streams, and in the chat, let me find the specific line. It was, dang it. Here we go. 1 second. Your internet is fine, because it's really good, actually. I'm just waiting for it to load. Let's see. You're mad, I'm back. Subscribe to Eris Loris. Vote Trump 2020.
Oh, yep, that's pretty clear.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, it wasn't and it was basically just a hack that spammed people's chat on Twitch, and just, I don't know if it was specifically on Twitch. I think it was just people playing it, and that would just repeatedly show up in the chat. And it's specifically and clearly a political move.
Yes.
Which, look, real quick, do you think people are going to see that and be like,
oh, good idea,
I should vote for
man.
Trump now? I was just wanting to play this game and not think about that, but now I am, and I'm a big fan of this happening. That's a real weird choice. So, all that to say is that we've seen a lot of, especially in this, I mean, it's not like it's new, but we've seen a lot in the run-up to this election of politics and video games kind of coming, kind of mixing in a way, in some ways successful, in some ways very unsuccessful. And so let's talk about let's kind of look at it from a big wide view, as we do usually. Is this something that should happen? Should there be, or should video games as an art form enjoy a sort of isolation from a political standpoint or stance?
Well, something that you and I have talked about a lot is that art is political in general.
Okay.
And so no matter what, I mean, television is the same way. You can't, should TV be political, or should networks not do politics stuff? Look, media and politics are going to mix. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, how blatant you get with it can be different.
Sure.
And I think that's where my fear actually lies. Should they mix together? They're gonna, whether you think so or not.
Yeah.
And I do think there are a lot of ways in which you very successfully can mix those things together. Something like a walking simulator that's a simulation of let's say the refugee camps on the border, or the people looking for asylum.
That sounds interesting to me.
Something like that would be, and then you can just talk to people and they tell you real life stories of people that are waiting to get into America.
Yes,
that
please.
would be incredible.
I want to play that.
I just made
trademark.
Yeah, TM
on that one. Call us developers.
But at the same time, that's heavily political. That is
obviously,
right?
yeah. That is blatantly political.
So I think that could be incredible and good. And so should they mix? Yes. Here's my fear, though. Video games are currently known for being underhanded financially. And my real concern would be, play this game, every 5% of whatever you spend goes toward this politician's campaign. Or, just so you know, you're helping fund this organization, or whatever else. So let's say America's Army.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That one was very, very clear.
Obviously,
and
yeah,
obvious.
blatantly created by the military.
Right. And so that one's very blatant and clear. But what if it was something a little more underhanded? What if it was something like the opposite of what I just talked about, where it's a very innocent seeming game where you play as gritty Joe Shoot'em, and Joe Shoot'em.
Why isn't Joe Shoot'em the name of an actual character from the game? That makes it really feels like it should be at this point.
Joe Shoot'em is a border patrol agent. And there is specifically a drug cartel that's coming in.
Yeah.
And you are having to protect the border. By the way, 5% of all sales of this goes towards the wall or whatever else.
Sure.
And really get it, like the ability to twist politics within video game,
Sure.
and then the underhanded ways that you could manipulate finances in video games is a real fear that I would have with that.
Yeah. I think we have to say at the very beginning, it is a fool's belief that video games should not be political.
Right.
Like you said, art is political in nature. That is one of the things it's been used for forever, since the dawn of time.
Let's look at Game of the Year favorites, Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
People thought it was too political, when really it wasn't that political.
That's something we need to get into, is what we mean by political.
Okay.
For sure. But let's stick right now with literal, like, politics.
Okay.
Not necessarily like the virtue signaling that one party may or may not approve of or whatever,
so
but
like,
actual political statements.
So not ethical politics, but governmental politics.
Yeah. Governmental politics.
Fair enough. Okay.
And that those video games that have had a stance as far as like the validity of certain political movements or whatnot have existed for a very long time. In fact, what's the Missile Command?
Yeah.
I always thought just fun game where, game where you need to stop missiles from blowing up your thing.
Right.
It's a thing. And then I learned about the creator and what their intent was. It was to clearly demonstrate the stupidity and
futility.
The futility of an arms race.
Yep.
Because you cannot, quote unquote, win Missile Command.
Right.
Everything will get destroyed eventually. That guy literally had nightmares when making that game, because it was just like, I'm making a game where you can't win, and this is real life. People are stockpiling nukes. We can destroy the Earth many, 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 many times right now. And so, like, and Missile Command came out decades and decades ago. Like, from the very beginning of video games, there have been politically motivated games commenting on various types of government, on various, politicians in general. More recently, you have something that comes to mind is Papers, Please. Which is kind of like what you're talking about, like a refugee camp.
Yeah.
Papers, Please is a simulation where you play as an immigration officer checking papers of people trying to, essentially, in real life, it would be like going from Eastern to Western Germany during the when they were split by the wall. And so, like, very politically,
some very real life lessons we can learn there. Dang, man.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yes, 100%. Games like this exist and always have, where they comment on political stunts or political leanings and stuff like that. So we cannot say no, that should not play a part in games. They always have, and some of the Papers, Please was lauded as an incredible game for how it kind of talked about that stuff. I think a lot of people, and we can talk about this in a lot of ways, they complain when it's something they disagree with.
Yes. And that's fine.
Yes.
If you want to disagree with something, good. Have a well thought out reason why you disagree with it, of course. But it's fine to disagree with something. But to say, I disagree with this, therefore it should not be in video games.
Right.
That's silly.
Right.
It really is a silly premise. In fact, most people wouldn't say that. They would say things that I disagree with shouldn't be in video games, not politics. If it's politics they agree with, they would be fine with it being anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah.
It's people's fear of the things that they disagree with that they want kept out of video games.
Yeah. I mean, there are, and really what it takes is a critical eye toward the games we play and kind of recognizing them for making political statements. So I consider Final Fantasy VII extremely political. a commentary on
environmentalism,
as well as unfettered capitalism, allowing a corporation to essentially control the fate of an entire city and the planet itself, all under the guise of making a better life for people. And like that is a political game right there. Does it say Democrats or Republicans? No. But it is a very political game and so we have to be able to recognize political statements are made in every game to a certain extent, unless you're maybe a purely like match 3 puzzler or something. Like most games have a political statement to make, have some kind of commentary based on, I mean, I would say even Undertale has a commentary on like pacifism versus
genocide. It's called a genocide run.
Preemptive strikes, that kind of thing. Yeah. These are foreign alien creatures. I'm going to kill them before they can kill me. Versus finding out who they are and finding out that they are misunderstood and need help. That kind of thing. Like every game has a political statement to make. So it's bonkers to say that games should not be political.
Yeah. So I guess then to get into what you were talking about more is, should governmental politics sort of lean into video games, kind of in the way that we've been seeing,
like in a real life from a real life standpoint,
right? And what I would say is they need to.
Interesting.
Yes, because video gaming is becoming more and more common.
Yeah.
So something like 67% of America is considered a gamer with, and I am almost literally making up these statistics right now. It's coming,
good.
It's coming from.
So speaking
memory.
Of politics,
it's somewhere in the like 60s to 70s, 80s, whatever percentage are considered gamers, with the stipulation of like a gamer defined as somebody who plays something around 3 or 4 hours of video games.
Yeah, including mobile games.
Including mobile games. And that was one that really tipped it.
That's the one that really changes it.
Yeah. Like my mother-in-law, like 60-year-old mother-in-law, plays the crap out of Bejeweled.
Sure.
All the time. And that's great. Good.
Yeah.
And so that's the way that our society is going. Everybody is going to be playing video games in a decade. Everybody will be playing video games. And so if you're going to want to reach people, again, this would be like 100 years ago or whatever, saying, should politics come into television? Of course, because that's where everybody's going to be in a few years.
Yeah, no, it's 100% like video game. I mean, even if they should or shouldn't, they're going to.
Yeah.
Like it's just another opportunity to reach out to voters or pander or, try to convince people to vote for you or to vote for something. So like they're going to either way. So asking the question of should they really doesn't matter.
Right.
Because they're going to. I think the real question of should they is, then maybe we can talk about this a little more, is how? Is there what is the best way? Since it's going to happen, what is the best way for politicians and, political organizations use video games as a platform?
And I would take that 2 directions, and one I'm going to avoid entirely. And that is, what are really sneaky and underhanded ways that they could do that? Because I have ideas. Like, there are, like, just off the top of my head, having a video game developed by your campaign that pretty much, like, demonizes your opponent and glorifies you, and then setting that out for free to whoever wants to play it,
right?
But geared toward 13 and 14-year-olds,
propaganda.
Yeah, just direct
using
propaganda.
video games in a propaganda,
and that would be dumb and horrific, and I would hate it, and it will probably happen next election.
Oh,
not be surprised,
but sure, and there are already games that you can find like that, but they are not actually made by the political campaigns of the particular politicians.
But what I will say, and you and I kind of spoke about this before, is I don't agree with everything that AOC says or does.
Sure.
I don't agree with her as a politician. She seems like a very cool person, though, and I love that idea of taking a popular game and just playing it.
Yeah.
You know what? Lean into the Conan O'Brien route and be, Clueless Gamer. Go in and be old.
This summer
old
on TBS, Mitch McConnell is clueless and very old gamer. Also very clueless gamer.
I think that would be hilarious. And if you lean into it and you say, yeah, I'm going to have no idea and it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
And I'm going to kind of make a fool of myself, and that's just fine. I got no problem with that. Doing that it'd be awesome. It got Conan O'Brien a spot in Death Stranding.
Yeah, he was in Death Stranding. He and Andy Richter, his like sidekick, did voices for one of the Halo games for some side characters, and yeah, like
it's the type of thing where nobody would have ever thought of Conan O'Brien until he became Clueless Gamer.
Right. Well,
Lean
I mean,
into
he had
that,
a show
man.
and it was pretty funny, but
But a lot of people have late
far
night
as-
shows. Nobody wants
you're
Jimmy
right.
Kimmel in their video game. Like,
I do. I want Jimmy Kimmel to replace Kratos in the next God of War. Saint looks exactly the same as real life Jimmy Kimmel.
Boy, that's my Jimmy Kimmel
Boy.
impression. Yeah.
No, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. Well, I think it has to come down to, are you being genuine? Which is just the case for everything in politics. A good politician is somebody who is genuine and actually is acting in a way that is not trying to trick you or trying to pander to you. Because any single politician could have an intern set up a stream of Among Us, and they could jump on there and like be bad or whatever, but then just use it as a way to say, well, we can't vote for this or we have to vote for this. AOC did a really great job in the sense that, she absolutely took some opportunities to talk about things that she found important and to tell people to vote. But she genuinely enjoyed playing the game and had a good time, and therefore everybody had a good time. And if we want to talk about being underhanded, that actually probably helped a lot of people like her more, even if they might disagree, which, I mean, that's just a good way to do it. Like,
Yeah, and you can't help that though.
Yeah, no, exactly.
If you're just being you and people like you for it, that's not
that's
underhanded.
not really political.
Yes.
That's just a person.
Yes.
That's just having a good time hanging out with somebody.
And hopefully, like a lot of, and this is true for so many things, but a lot of the responsibility is going to rely on the voter, on the person,
Sure.
to be able to distinguish between, I like this person and I want to vote for this person. That's something that I very much do in my brain of, you know what? AOC seems like a very cool person. I don't agree with her politically though, but you know what? I'd love to hang out with her. She seems super cool, and things like that. Just having this mindset of it's okay to like an opposing political person if they're a cool person.
Sure.
Having a political opinion doesn't necessarily make you a bad person. Let's be clear, political opinion, not basic human rights opinion.
The very different statement.
Very different things. Having a political opinion doesn't necessarily make you a bad person. So it's okay to like somebody. That being said, though, another benefit I think that we could get from having video games lean in is it could make younger candidates, give them a huge leg up in politics.
100%.
Which is something we desperately need in our government right now, is younger people.
Yeah.
We have, the average age is like, what, 150? In our government right now?
Minimum. Yeah.
No, but age is a real problem in our government and kind of losing touch. We've talked many times about Mark Zuckerberg having to explain Facebook.
It's the funniest thing.
Just like
that happened literally yesterday, where various social media people, Jack Dorsey from Twitter, others, like, you had politicians being like, this person tweeted about me, or this person that works for you said a bad thing about me. Are they still working for you? Like, yes.
Yeah.
What, they can do that. Or like, this tweet was said that there was one that was, I'm getting on tangent here, but there was a tweet. It was literally like some politician saying, I saw a tweet that said, insert politician's name here, him, strangled my dog in front of me in my front yard yesterday. Don't vote for him. In a very clearly like parody joke.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
People have been doing that with like Ellen. Like,
Yeah.
Ellen shot me in the chest after I got her the wrong coffee. It's just purely parody, hilarious. And he's like, we can't have that on the internet. And,
I
don't
think
understand what happened.
a great example of this, and I just finished watching recently the documentary High Score, the Netflix documentary on video gaming, and something they talk about is when Mortal Kombat came out and Night Trap came out.
Oh, yeah.
And the scare of violence in video games, that, this was even pre-Jack Trenton and his whole tirade against video games. Yeah. How scared people were of violent video games, but the reality was they just didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And this is going to become true with politics as well, and modern politics very much so, where there's just people at an age where they don't understand a lot of what's going on in the world in general.
Sure.
And yes, they understand more than I do in a lot of ways, but they also understand less than I do in a lot of ways.
Look, here's the thing. It's not a character flaw to not know about video games.
Right.
That's fine. I don't expect I don't expect Bernie Sanders. I love Bernie Sanders and agree with him on a lot of stuff. I don't expect him to be up on Twitch, like, hanging out and, like, you know, streaming and stuff, because that's just not something he's clearly into.
Right.
But it does demonstrate that if we are supposed to be a representative government and the people who represent us are not familiar with the things that the majority of the American population is familiar with, it can be a problem. It can be. It's not necessarily we have to vote out everybody who doesn't know video games. It just can lend itself toward a disconnect, a discordance between the representative and the people they're supposed to represent. And so, yes, younger people knowing video games, that in and of itself is not what makes them a good politician. It's just an idea that when they are younger and more in tune with what younger people know about, then they can maybe more serve those younger people to a greater degree.
And particularly because we are seeing a big gap in between the political opinions of an older generation and the boomers,
sure,
and the generation
a different understanding, perspective,
right, than just a little bit younger than them. I guess not a little bit, but younger than them in millennials, and then an even bigger jump to Generation Z,
right,
and what's going on there with their opinions and political opinions. And because of that, but because we see so many politicians being in that upper age group, a lot of their just general thought process, again, not on purpose, this is just kind of what
it's how it goes,
right,
politician or not, that's how it works.
Their understanding of what people should have or what things are necessary in the world today are based on their age group, because that's what they experience personally.
Yeah.
But getting younger people in there, and we're focusing more on the politics than the video games.
We're going to jump back into that because I'm going to guide us back in there in a second.
Yeah, but being able to have somebody who is clearly able to hit that demographic because of their youth allows that youth to end up in politics or in the government.
Sure.
Therefore, evening out the age range in politics.
As long as, we'll go back to this real quick, as long as there is a genuine belief in the things that... So AOC genuinely believes and is fighting for the things that she has put out there politically. That is what makes her, in my opinion, a good representative. Like, she cares about what's going on and is also able to talk to younger people, and when a meme is shared, knows what that meme means. Which, in you know, at the end of the day, is just a thing, but it also can go a long way for people's like understanding or approval of the government. Like, there's just a lot there. When there's that disconnect between the perspectives, it can do a lot more damage than just like it's nice to see somebody who understands how the internet works, and can make jokes and stuff that the internet will understand and get and understand. Anyway, let's move back into let's talk about where you were going toward the beginning of the conversation with kind of how we define political sometimes in the statements that video games make. So you can see this a lot on the internet, and there's jokes about it. Like, there's two types of character in a video game, according to some people: a white male and a political character. Like anything that's not just what they want to see is a political move and virtue signaling or whatever. So let's talk about what it actually means to make a political, like how do we define political in a video game?
So if we are going with our separation before of political as in ethical and political as in governmental, if we want to focus on the second part, I think if you were creating a political video game, then it would be something like we were talking about before, with one is your border patrol agent.
Sure.
The other one is...
You got your papers, please.
Papers, please. You know, and in each of these ways, you are purposefully glorifying, almost is the word I might use. That may not be the right word, but I'm going to stay with it anyway. Glorifying your political opinion.
Sure.
And there are a lot of ways you could do that these days. There are a lot of different things, whether it's you want to emphasize the military and the importance of the military, border patrol agents like we talked about before, or on the flip side, pacifism or compassion. I hate to say compassion is a political thing, but sometimes these days.
See, that's exactly what we're talking about, is things that can be seen as compassion can be said, I think The Last of Us 2 is a really great example of what we're trying to talk about here.
Yeah.
Where you have characters who there is no actual political statement made in that game as far as like governmental political statement. You have like a government organization in, not represented in the game, but or there. And then you have various organizations that could be considered different types of government. You have the Fireflies and you have, all of them. But what was called political was there is a woman who is strong, or a transgender character, or the male character gets killed really early on and it's really about women. And like those are things that are then called political moves, which doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But it comes down to the idea of virtue signaling. This political party is known for these kind of ideas, and so when we see those ideas represented in something else, then there's that connection made by some people, and it really only is ever a problem for people if they disagree with that political with that political party or that political stance. And see, that's super frustrating for me, because transgender people are not political statements. They're people who exist.
They're not coming out and saying, I am a Democrat, therefore I am transgender.
I am transgender. There you go. I'm voting for Joe Biden, so I'm gay.
Yes, that's
not
the way that works.
How it works.
Because let me tell you this, there are homosexuals and trans people who are voting for Trump.
There are. Probably fewer.
Much.
I would guess.
Yes.
But there are people out there.
Yes. Absolutely, yes.
And so, yeah, that's like, it's unfortunate that there's two separate camps that we have to talk about, like political in government and political in ethical nature, because those two things do cross. Like, the legal system is a way to govern a moral system.
Yeah.
Essentially, this thing is a wrong thing to do, and if you do it, you will be punished for it. It's nothing but a moral system, and deciding to trying to
agree communally. Yeah,
and that's where we come into all of our different things. And so I think what we have to do is just recognize that I think sometimes we have a hard time separating our personal opinions from the actual story that's being demonstrated.
Absolutely.
And a hard part of that is compassion for me, like Detroit Become Human. Very political in nature,
yes,
in both ways. For me, what was hard with that was their AI, and I just don't consider
you and
that
I both
to be
struggled
real.
with
That was a hard
yeah.
part of that. But it's the difficulty here is to understand that not everything is out there to get you politically, to say you're wrong because this is what we're saying. Like, I don't know. It feels like we come at it that way sometimes, and generally only when we disagree with it.
Yeah.
This is making a statement on my opinion.
I would say that my other fear is that something, and this is a fear in politics in general, but that could be played out very heavily in video games. Something that I hate about modern politics is become significantly less on why you should vote for candidate A and become significantly more on why you should not vote for candidate B.
Sure.
A lot of, mudslinging and saying that you're evil or bad or whatever if you vote for the other person. And there are a lot of people out there that would not be able to tell you why they are voting for somebody.
Sure.
They could just tell you why they're not voting for the other one.
Right.
And that is scary. That's tough. And video games could very easily demonize. And because that's what we like to do a lot anyways. There is a protagonist and an antagonist in a lot of video games. And it's really easy to fall on that nuance. It's easy to make a good guy and a bad guy in a video game.
Oh yeah, 100% without trying.
And so you could very much demonize politics and very much demonize opposing politics, and it could become very manipulative. No more than anything else, but I'd hate to see it in games just because I love games.
Right. Yeah. So let's just here to wrap up. Let's talk about how we as the gaming audience, consumers of video games, can maybe influence. I don't know, maybe not influence, but recognize how can we use or consume games in a way that help us to understand different perspectives and understand that it's not necessarily a political statement, but that games are political in nature and can be and always have been. So, I mean, for me, it's just like work on your ability to separate your personal understanding, your personal perspective from what is being said. Because just because you disagree with it does not mean that the statement that's being made doesn't deserve to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's hard for me for like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Things that are pretty blatantly like pro-military, like, I don't know about glorifying, because not every first-person shooter Call of Duty-esque game has that kind of, like Spec Ops The Line. Definitely, I mean, it's literally called The Line. It rides that line between, like it kind of... Anyway, for me, that's the hard part, though. I don't want to play those games that are just, I'm in the military and shoot people. But there may be stories in those games that actually kind of demonstrate the things that I want to see. And I need to stop myself from just saying, oh, it's just that, whatever dumb political thing I don't agree with.
I would say that just as much as it is anywhere else, it would be important in political video games to educate yourself on the creation of it.
Yeah.
So if you see statistics, click on where those statistics came from, guys, and see, was this funded by an organization that is heavily biased one way or the other? Because something I say a lot is statistics don't lie, but liars use statistics. You can make statistics say a lot of things.
Yeah, it can be manipulated.
Yeah, and so absolutely find out where those come from. In the same way, if you play a video game and it really influenced your opinion on something, just why not take a look into how that video game was made then? And take a look in, is this funded by somebody in particular? If it is, what does that mean? Does that mean that maybe you should check out the other side as well, the other opinion? Like, I am a moderate through and through, and so I am always the person to say...
Really riding that fence, huh?
Yeah. No, it's not riding a fence. It's sitting in the middle where things are logic... No, just kidding. Kind of. Anyway...
That's what you would say about it.
Yes. So, I am the person that reads something and then says, what is the exact opposite opinion of this?
Sure.
And I want to go educate myself on that. Do that if a political game comes out too.
Yeah.
Any game that you think that has a heavy political opinion, I bet if you went to Last of Us Part 2 and really looked into the making of it, you'd see it's just some people who wanted to make a game.
Some people.
Yeah.
They had a clear like intent on what they wanted, the story they wanted to tell.
But it was not funded by transgender
It wasn't George
organizations.
Soros.
Yeah, like it's not heavily
Yeah.
trying to influence you one way or the other. It's just people making a game, and sure, they had political things, but this is not biased in some way, trying to make you believe something. But if there is a game like that, find out, educate yourself.
At the core of a positive political experience, both ethically and governmentally, is empathy.
Absolutely.
Humanly. We don't have a lot of that right now.
Yeah.
So when you are playing a game, for example, when Cyberpunk comes out, at some point in the future.
Yeah. So in 2077.
In 2077, when Cyberpunk is no
out.
longer relevant because society has progressed past what already is depicted there. No, when Cyberpunk comes out, try not to just view it as I'm a cool mercenary shooting people. That's a fun part of it. And that's not, you can't separate that entirely, but look at it from a standpoint of what is this saying about, politicians? What is this saying about corporations? What is this saying about, economics? What is this saying about where society has gone and how it got there? And like, cause I promise you, every single big AAA game like that has some commentary and on political situations. Horizon Zero Dawn talks about nuclear disarmament, talks about like where we are going as a species, and like talks about the ethics of AI. And
it's a very political game.
It's a very political game, and sometimes we can get caught up on the fact that, oh, cool, the robot dinosaurs, which is fine. Games can be viscerally entertaining. That's okay, but what can help us understand other perspectives is looking at them past the surface level. And sometimes you don't have to look that much farther. Cyberpunk is not trying to hide that it is about political, economic situations. Like, that's what that game is about.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you very much for listening. Thank you for your support. Hey, let us know what you think about politics in video games. Let us know ways that you think it could be done well. Let us know what ways that it would concern you, or maybe you think it shouldn't be done at all. Let us know. We want to say a big thank you to Granger for the use of their theme song, All My Friends Have Wi-Fi, and some of my neighbors do too, off of the album Dear Sam. It's a great album. You guys should go check it out.
And go check out our YouTube channel. We've got lots of stuff on there right now. We are, I think, nearing the end of Spirit Fair.
Yeah, I think so.
Got a few more characters on our boat that we got to kick off into the Everdore, and then yeah. So we got some new games coming out after that. Not sure what we're gonna play yet, but
right,
we got some stuff. And then of course I talked about it earlier. My playthroughs of Assassin's Creed Origins, and then Odyssey is coming out. My No Man's Sky playthrough drops every Friday.
I'll have a playthrough of Hades coming out.
Yeah, I'm
trying to do the whole thing and finish it, and then I'm gonna play.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Is just like because I put so many videos up that I can just play a whole game and still not worry. Anyway, lots of videos up there, lots of different games coming out.
So thanks again, guys, and always remember that save games, save lives.
See you next week.
My voice sings